So
By
previously,
before that, first proving that symmetric matrices have an orthonormal eigenvector basis.
yes. Yeah, so we proved the spectral theorem. Which said that a matrix M, yeah, we assume that it's a real n by n matrix, is symmetric. Yeah. What does it say?
If it has a basis of orthonormal eigenvectors.
If and only if. Okay, goes both ways. Okay. M has orthonormal eigenvector basis. Orthonormal eigenvector basis. Yeah.
So is that the spectral theorem, or is the one where we say that we can represent it as a matrix of sigma lambda I
Yeah, so both are
mu?
the same thing. Yeah, I mean, you will see written in different ways according to different situations. Okay, so that other thing is typically called spectral decomposition. Yeah. So what is the other thing saying? So M belong to R raised to n by n is symmetric if and only if. Yeah, so what was the spectral decomposition? The other way of stating the spectral theorem?
And can be written as the sum of.
Yeah. There are real numbers lambda 1 to lambda n. Yeah. And orthonormal eigenvectors u1 to un, again real vectors. Yeah. Such that m equal to summation over I equal to 1 to n. What should I write here?
Lambda ui transpose.
And ui transpose. Yeah. And yeah, so you can think of this as writing M in terms of linear combination of very simple matrices. And that's what spectral decomposition is. Yeah. Okay, fine. So yeah, so far we assume that everything is real. Yeah, I mean your matrix is real. Yeah, your eigenvalues are real. Your vectors are real. Yeah. Now, what happens when your matrix is complex? Can we say something like a spectral decomposition when your matrix is complex?
Sir, even in the real case, the basis was for complex n by n, sir, right?
No. If you remember the way we choose the vectors, yeah, we took the real part of the vectors. Remember?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So everything was real. Yeah. We went to the complex case for one argument. We had to say that the characteristic polynomial has at least one root. Yeah. For that, we went to the complex field.
Sir, here when you say the complex case, do you mean that the matrix can have complex entries?
Yeah, the matrix can have complex entries.
Right.
So your M is belonging to C raised to n by n. Okay. Yeah. So yeah. So what all did we require for proving M has real eigenvalues?
There will be at least one complex eigenvalue, I believe, sir. So we can just split that into the real and imaginary parts and just take the real part.
That is not always possible. But how did we prove that a symmetric matrix has a real eigenvalue previously? Do you remember how we proved that?
So we assumed an eigenvector V and then we calculated V transpose M into V.
Yeah, we calculated V transpose M into V. Yeah. Remember, in the complex case, the dot product, yeah, V dot W is V bar transpose times W, right? Yeah. So if we want to do the same here, we have to do V bar transpose. Okay. Yeah. So let's try to analyze this quantity. So what did we do previously?
So MV is equal to lambda V.
Yeah. So we tried to group this in two separate ways, right? If you group this way, you are getting lambda times V dot V. Yeah. And what happens if we do the other way?
So
M transpose V bar whole transpose.
Yeah. So you are getting M transpose V bar the whole transpose times V. Yeah. And last time we assumed real symmetric matrix. Yeah. So this happened that this is equal to M bar transpose V bar the whole transpose times V because it was real. And then we also wrote that this is equal to
MTV whole bar.
Yeah. So this we assume that M is real. Yeah. Here you assume that M is symmetric. Yeah. And then what did we get?
Lambda bar into V transpose.
Basically the inner product of V with it. Yeah. And then we concluded that lambda equal to lambda bar. This is what we did. Yeah. So what is required for doing this? What do we require for doing this?
M is equal to M bar.
M equal to M bar. Okay. That's enough.
And M is symmetric.
Yeah. So let's combine the two. Yeah. We just need that M bar the whole transpose equal to M. Right. If we had this, we can directly go from here to here.
So Aij is equal to Aj bar.
Yeah. So yeah, Mij the whole bar equal to Mji. That's what that means. Yeah. So if we had this condition, yeah, we could still make this proof work. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what does this condition mean? Does all symmetric matrices satisfy this condition?
No, sir.
Yeah, so can you tell me a symmetric matrix that doesn't satisfy the condition?
All values I.
Okay, all values I. Okay, I will just do something more simpler. This is a symmetric matrix, but this doesn't satisfy this condition. Okay. Yeah. And this is a non-symmetric matrix, and that will satisfy the condition. Yeah, so this will satisfy the condition. Okay. Yeah. So this type of matrices are called Hermitian matrices. Yeah. This is the definition. Okay, definition. Okay. So whenever you hear, in complex case, the analog of symmetric matrices is called Hermitian matrices. Yeah, and for them, this is what you mean. Okay. And yeah, so does the spectral decomposition theorem work for this? So what will be the spectral decomposition theorem? M belong to complex raised to n by n, yeah, is Hermitian if and only if M has orthonormal eigenvector basis. Can we prove that? How do we prove that? How did we start proving this in the symmetric case?
So we first assumed that there is an orthonormal eigenvector basis and we went backwards.
We started by saying that, okay, there is at least one eigenvalue lambda and one eigenvector v. Yeah, right?
Okay, sir.
So for the forward direction, right?
Yeah, for the forward direction, yes. I mean, forward direction was the hard part. The reverse direction was just a simple thing. You change the basis and it becomes symmetric, right?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. So this lambda belongs to real, okay, because we already showed, yeah, if it's a Hermitian matrix, the eigenvalue has to be a real eigenvalue, yeah. But this vector might be a complex vector. Okay, the earlier we could say that the vector is also a real vector, but now it might be a complex vector. Okay. Yeah. So then what did we do? We found one eigenvalue eigenvector pair and
So we made a basis containing that vector v.
yeah, we came up with a orthonormal basis. Yeah. Let's say W1 to Wn, yeah, where W1 was equal to V. Yeah, and we changed the basis. Okay, so M prime was equal to, I mean, yeah, this you multiplied the change of basis matrix, right? P inverse MP, right? And then what did we say?
So that the first row and column should be 0 and the first element should be lambda.
Yeah, so this one is lambda and these became 0. Yeah, and how did this become 0?
Sir, because of symmetricity. That the matrix.
Is M prime symmetric?
Sir,
This
here
case
not
also?
I think.
Okay, why? What is wrong? Where does it go wrong?
Because sir, M is Hermitian, which doesn't necessarily imply symmetric matrix. I think so.
Yeah, but maybe then can we say M prime is Hermitian?
I think so, sir.
Yeah. So remember, our dot product is V comma V dot W is V bar transpose times W. Yeah. So what is P inverse? What is P inverse? Earlier, what was P inverse?
P transpose.
P transpose. So now what will be P inverse?
P conjugate transpose.
Yeah. You need to do P conjugate transpose. Yeah. So yes, earlier we had what are called orthonormal matrices. So this type of matrices where P inverse equal to P conjugate transpose, these kind of matrices are called unitary matrices. Okay. So yeah, when you move to a complex case, the symmetric matrix becomes Hermitian matrices, and yeah, I mean orthonormal matrices becomes unitary matrices. Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you just restrict, if the matrix has only real numbers, then both are equivalent. Okay. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So then yeah. So then this will become equal to. Okay. Just a second. Yeah. So what will that become equal to?
P bar transpose MP.
Yeah. And is that matrix Hermitian?
Yes, sir. I think so.
Yeah.
So does that rule follow for Hermitian matrices as well, that AB to AB raised to bar into transpose is equal to B bar transpose into A bar transpose?
Yes. Yes. Of course. Yeah. That works. I mean,
Okay. Okay.
bar meaning just take complex conjugate of every entry. Yeah. You can observe that everything works.
So then I think M dash will also be Hermitian matrix.
Yeah. So M dash is also a Hermitian matrix. Yeah. And I mean, yeah, if these are zeros, then these also become zeros. Yeah, that also works for Hermitian. And we will, yeah, it will result in M tilde prime. Yeah, is belonging to C raised to n minus 1 by n minus 1 is Hermitian. Okay, and everybody knows the rest of the proofs?
Yes, sir. Mathematical induction.
Yeah, then by mathematical induction. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so we have generalized the spectral decomposition theorem to complex vector spaces.
Sir, one question.
Yeah.
Sir, when we say orthonormal basis, are we using some sort of an analog, or do we literally mean orthonormal basis here?
Yeah, so I mean here this particular orthonormality has to be used. This is the dot product.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
So we'll
So
say
here,
that V bar transpose W is equal to 0 when we're talking about.
yeah, yeah, and the vectors might be complex numbers. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Or the vectors will have complex numbers also in it. I mean, if the vectors has only real numbers, if the taking this bar means nothing.
Yes, sir. Then everything becomes the symmetric, like exactly identical to the symmetric value.
That's right. Yeah. So here we have complex numbers, then you have to take orthonormality with respect to complex numbers.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
And similarly, that decomposition way of writing it is M belongs to C raised to n by n is Hermitian. Yeah. If and only if there exist numbers lambda 1 to lambda n. Yeah. These lambda 1 to lambda n are real numbers, but this vectors u1 to un are going to be complex vectors now. Yeah. So these are orthonormal eigenbasis vectors. Yeah. And such that M equal to yeah. What should I write here?
Lambda I UI conjugate transpose.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, and it works out. Yeah, and this is what the spectral decomposition theorem is for complex matrices. Okay. Any questions? So each of these matrices are Hermitian.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So it works out. Okay. Fine. So okay, we have generalized spectral decomposition to complex vector spaces. Okay. Now, what can we say about a general matrix? You are given any matrix, yeah. Let's say you are given a m by n matrix, yeah, and let's say m is greater than n, greater or equal to n. You are not told it is symmetric or anything like that, yeah. Can we have something like a spectral decomposition for them? Okay. Yeah. So apparently it happens that you can have something similar to a spectral decomposition for them. It's called singular value decomposition. Okay. So yeah, so let's try to see how it what it is. Yeah. So what is M? M is a linear transformation from what to what?
Vector space of Rn to vector space of Rn.
Yeah. So it will take input r raised to n vectors and output r raised to m vectors, right? And what about M transpose?
The opposite.
Opposite. You will take a r raised to m vector and get a r raised to n vector. What about M transpose M?
So it will be a linear operator.
Yeah, so it what is the dimension of the spaces?
N.
Yeah, be r raised to n to r raised to n. Okay. What about M transpose?
M to M.
M to okay, good. Yeah. So so we are generalizing it in two directions. Okay. One is we are removing the symmetry condition. Secondly, we are also looking at arbitrary dimensional matrices. Yeah, we are looking at two things.
Sir, one question, sir. Sir, is m greater than equal to n very important? That is the domain's dimension. Sorry, the codomain's dimension needs to be more than the domain's dimension.
No need, no need. I mean, if it is like that, I will state everything in terms of M transpose. That's all.
Then, sir, why is m greater than equal to n important? Like, why have you written that, sir?
So that it's easy for me to state things. Yeah. Whatever I say, I mean, if M is less than n, you just take the transpose of that matrix and do what I'm going to say now. It also works.
Okay. Understood, sir. Understood.
Yeah. Without loss of generality, M is greater or equal to n. That's what I'm saying.
Understood, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Can we say something about these two transformations? Yeah, what can we say about these two transformations or matrices?
They are symmetric.
Yeah, they are symmetric matrices. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes.
They are symmetric matrices. So we can do spectral decomposition for them, right? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So M transpose M, yeah, has an orthonormal eigenbasis, yeah, and let that eigenbasis be, yeah, u1 to un, yeah, and the eigenvalues are lambda 1 to lambda n. Okay. Okay. Now, okay, so we could similarly find a orthonormal eigenbasis for M transpose M also. Sorry, M transpose also. But let's stick with the M transpose M for now. Okay, we found this orthonormal eigenbasis. Okay, so one more question. So what is the rank of the matrix? Okay, So what is the rank of the matrix M transpose? Can you say anything about that?
M
transpose.
So the dimension
Rank
of the
is-
row span of M.
So yeah, what can we say about the rank of can we say anything?
So is it the dimension of the row span of M?
Dimension of, how do you say that? Why do you say that?
So because I don't know, like just intuition.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you should be able to explain your answer also. Yeah, I mean, my claim is this rank is at most n. Yeah. So what is the dimension of this matrix? This matrix?
M cross
M cross M, and M is greater than or equal to n. So why is the rank less than or equal to n? Why do I say? Is there any idea?
Sir, because the maximum rank, the column rank of M transpose can only be at max n.
Okay, so what I'm talking about M transpose, no?
Yes, sir, but either way, you cannot increase it, can you, sir?
I don't know, maybe it can. So if you multiply matrices, the rank will not increase. Is that you are saying?
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
Else it will become a mini one function, say one to many.
Okay. So do you know the fact that rank of a matrix, yeah, is equal to dimension of the range?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Rank of the matrix is dimension of the range. Yeah, and now I mean the rank of the columns of M transpose, yeah, is going to be at most n, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean maximal, yeah, can be at most n of them can be linearly independent. Yeah. Now
same for M, sir.
Same for M, yeah. But when you apply this operation M transpose, first you will be applying M transpose on the whole vector space, right?
Yes, sir.
And the output dimension after applying M transpose is going to be at most n. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the output after applying the first M transpose has dimension at most n.
Yes, sir.
And now M is again applying on some smaller space. It's not going to increase the dimension of the space. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So that's why I'm saying this thing. Okay. So yeah. Okay. So this is a very important result, and you can make very interesting arguments if you use this properly. Okay. Yeah. Fine. Okay.
Sir, I didn't quite understand it. Can you please go over it again?
So I mean, so you take M times M transpose. Yeah. So this is acting on M dimensional vectors, no? You agree?
Yes.
Yeah. So so this is a composition of two functions, M of M transpose of some vector V. You agree? Yeah. Now V can be any M dimensional vector. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. But after applying M transpose, the dimension of the range is going to be at most n. The number of vectors of the form M transpose P has dimension at most n. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the range of this after the operation M transpose, the range is going to be a subset of R raised to N. Yeah.
Okay, sir, understood. Got it.
Yeah. So then, I mean, yeah. So dimension is rank is equal to dimension of range. So the entire thing cannot have more dimension. So I'm saying it is at most N. In fact, I can say it is at most rank of M. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. So we agree that M transpose M times U1 is what?
Dimensional vector.
Lambda 1 times U1. Okay. What happens if I left to multiply this equation by M?
We get MUI as an eigenvector of M transpose.
Yeah. So yeah, what am I doing? What should I do? I should just group these things together. Yeah. So yeah. Implies that what does this imply?
MU1 is a eigenvector of M transpose. And lambda 1 is also an eigen value of M transpose.
Yeah. Everybody agrees with this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now we have a orthonormal eigenbasis, yeah, for M transpose, sorry, M transpose M, yeah, and we also got some eigenvectors and eigenvalues of M transpose also. In fact, the eigenvalues of them are the same, right? Eigenvectors are slightly different, but are these orthonormal? So let's call this, let's call this what? So are these vectors orthonormal? This M times U1 up to M times UN. Are they orthonormal?
I don't think so, sir.
So let's try to take the dot product. So M times UI, the whole transpose times M times UJ. What will you get?
So UI transpose M transpose M UJ.
Okay. So anything more we can write?
So
Lambda
UI transpose
J UJ.
Yeah. So if you just group these things together, what was this UIs?
Orthonormal eigenvectors.
Yeah. So what can we say here?
Lambda J UY UJ.
So there was a UI transpose here which I missed. Yeah. So what can we say about this?
So that's 0 by definition, sir.
So it's always 0.
So UI and UJ are orthonormal, so it has to be 0 unless UI equal to I equal to J.
If I equal to J, that is what is that?
Dot product is 1.
1.
Yeah. So UI dot sorry this yeah, you will get basically lambda I basically. Yeah. If I not equal to J, it is 0. Okay. So what does that mean about these vectors? Are they orthonormal?
So they're orthogonal.
Orthogonal.
Yeah, so what should we do to make them orthonormal?
Divide by lambda.
Divide by norm.
Divide by no. And how much is the no?
Lambda
Lambda I.
How much?
So lambda I.
Lambda I.
No, miss, you need a square root also, no?
Yes, sir, square root lambda I.
Yeah, but maybe lambda is negative.
Lambda I square. Isn't it squares?
Maybe lambda is negative. When what will you do?
Isn't it lambda I square?
I mean, you got lambda I only here.
Take the mod maybe.
Can lambda I be negative here?
No, sir, it can't be negative because it is a dot product of two vectors.
Yeah. So what are we getting? You are getting that m times ui, the whole transpose into m times ui is getting equal to this, right? This is a dot product of two non-zero vectors.
Understood.
Yeah, this is the dot product of two non-zero vectors, and yeah, so let me make one simplifying assumption. Yeah, so for it to be non-zero, we also need to say that let's say rank of m is equal to n. Okay, the rank of m equal to n. Yeah, otherwise this can be zero also. So since the rank of m equal to n, these are non-zero vectors. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this implies lambda is actually greater or equal to 0. There's a positive number. In fact, it is strictly greater than 0. Yeah. So we can do this. We can divide by square root of lambda I. Yeah. So we have now got an orthonormal eigenbasis, for m transpose, and we have also got some orthonormal vectors for the output space, right? So you had this m was taking a n-dimensional space to a m-dimensional space. Yeah, and so we have defined this vi to be equal to m times ui, for I equal to 1 to n. Yeah, and this v1 to vn are orthogonal. They are even orthonormal, but they don't span the entire m-dimensional space, right? Do they span?
So they span n dimensions.
They only span
At
n
most
dimensions. Yeah. So what we will do is we will extend this v1 to vn to a full dimensional thing. Okay. You will take this v1 to vn and add some more vectors to extend it to the full dimensional thing. Yeah. So this is a orthonormal basis for r raised to m. Yeah. So this additional vectors we added. Yeah. These vectors were obtained like this, and these additional vectors we added. Okay. Now my question is, what is the matrix of m when when basis for this r raised to n is v1 to vn, sorry, u1 to un, and the basis for r raised to m, the output space, is this this particular thing, v1 to vn and wn plus 1 to wm. Is the question clear?
No, sir.
Yeah.
Like,
so,
why are we doing this?
So how are we defining two bases for the different dimensions? I didn't completely understand that part.
So if you have a linear transformation from one vector space to another, it has a matrix. For specifying a matrix for this linear transformation, I need to fix the basis for V as well as W, no?
Oh, yes, understood.
Yeah. So for the domain, I'm fixing this U1 to UN basis. For the range, I'm fixing this particular basis. These are bases of the corresponding spaces. You agree with that?
Yes, sir.
I'm keeping this basis. Yeah.
So it would be equivalent to having a transformation matrix pre-multiplied by a change of basis.
Yes. So pre as well as post. So you are changing the basis in the domain as well as the range. But you'll be multiplying with different matrices, not the
Yes, sir.
same.
So
Yeah.
we change both to standard basis, apply the transformation, and then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, sir.
So question is, after doing that, what will the matrix look like?
So will it be symmetric?
Okay. So what does U1 look like in the new basis?
So I don't think it can be symmetric, sir, because it's n cross m, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously the matrix is going to be an n cross m matrix. Yeah, that is m cross n matrix, right? Yeah. So, but what can we say? How does U1 look like in the new basis? How does U1 look like?
So 1 0 0 0.
Yeah, it is 1 0 0 0. And how does V1 look like?
Sir,
in the output basis, it will be 1 0 0 0, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. In the output basis, yes.
Yeah. So and m prime times U1 in the new coordinates should be equal to V1, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's what how we define things. Yeah. And now tell me how the matrix m prime look like. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. So m prime. So m times U1 should be equal to square root of lambda 1 times lambda I times. Yeah, Vi, right? This is the definition of U1 V1 to Vn. You agree with this? Yeah. Is this clear? Yeah. Now, can you tell me how the matrix M prime should look like?
Sir, if you're making this statement sense, then how is m prime different from m?
So M prime is obtained from M using some change of basis transformation.
Oh, okay, yes, sir. Sorry.
I mean, there is some P and there is some Q or something sitting here and there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So Q changes the domain ka basis and P changes the range ka basis. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So then, I mean, yeah. So the new coordinates of UI is U1 is this, V1 is this, and so I mean the eigenvalue. So I mean, still the transformation should be doing the same thing. Yeah. In terms of abstract vectors, U1 should be mapped to V1, right? I mean, U1 should be mapped to lambda I times V1. Yeah. So this equation still holds. This is in terms of abstract vectors, right?
Sir, for all W n plus 1 to Wm, will it all be 0?
Yeah. So I mean, this is only possible if you have to have lambda 1 square root of lambda 2 square root of lambda n. Here it will be zeros. Here it will be zeros. Yeah. And here it will be entirely be zeros. Yeah. This is the only way this can happen. And this 1 0 0 should go to square root of lambda I 0 0 0. That's the only. This is the only way it can happen. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So it's a diagonal matrix. It's a diagonal matrix in the sense that, okay, you will need to pad it with zeros. Yeah.
Yes, sir. In that case.
Any questions?
So intuitively, sir, I understand that it kind of makes sense, sir, but can you like explain it once again, sir? Because I don't completely understand it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what are we saying here? We are saying that we can diagonalize any matrix.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but sometime we said, okay, we cannot diagonalize all matrices, no? So what is wrong?
This isn't an exact diagonal matrix. Can be?
Let's say m equal to n, then it's a diagonal matrix, no? M equal to n, it's a diagonal matrix. So any square matrix can be diagonalized. What is wrong?
The rank of M is equal to N is also a condition.
Okay, I mean, that is not essential, okay, but yeah, I don't think that is the problem.
So, but let's say we had a square matrix and then we applied this condition, then that matrix should also be diagonalizable, I think, if I'm not wrong.
Remember, what is diagonalization? Yeah, so this is not diagonalization. What is happening here? When you do diagonalization, the basis vector for the domain as well as the range should be the same.
Oh, yes, they are the inverse.
Yeah, the basis vectors. So remember, diagonalization was for square matrices. Yeah, it has for square matrices, and the vectors. It's a linear operator, in fact. Yeah, and I mean the domain and the range space. Yeah, both of them should have the same basis vectors. Yeah, and then we should look at the matrix of the linear transformation. Yeah, here we are changing both the basis vectors for the domain as well as the range.
So are we saying that there exists change an orthonormal eigenvector change of basis from one space to another, or something similar to that?
Yeah. So for any operator, yeah, it is diagonalizable. Yeah, in an orthonormal basis. Yeah, if you can choose both the basis vectors of the domain as well as the range. Yeah, so you can always diagonalize a matrix if you change both the basis vectors of the domain as well as the range. That's what this is saying.
So, but if we use separate bases for the input and output, like haven't we essentially changed the matrix itself?
Yeah. So we are changing the matrix according to some transformation like this. You are pre-multiplying as well as post-multiplying. So if you do change of basis to one space, you need to multiply by a matrix there, right?
No, so what I meant was, like, if we use the same basis for input and output, then M dash is equal to P inverse MP is basically M in abstract sense, right? But here it won't be M, it will be some other transformation, even in the abstract sense. So isn't
No, in
that
the
kind
abstract, in the abstract sense, it's the same transformation. You are just representing the so there is some abstract transformation, yeah, and we are changing the basis of the domain and the range. So the transformation becomes a matrix, yeah, with respect to a basis for let's say T is a from V to W. So we can write a matrix for a transformation with respect to basis for the domain as well as the range. Yeah, for V and W. Then only we can even write the matrix. And nobody said that these has to be the same basis. They might not be even the same vector spaces.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So yeah, in the special case of linear operators, we said okay, we can look at same basis, and then we need to look at the diagonalization question, and not all matrices are diagonalizable. Yeah, and but we can diagonalize any operator if you change the basis of the domain as well as the range, and that's what this is saying. Yeah.
So can I give my understanding and can you check it? We basically first we proved that M is a matrix that from a given
I think you are muted, Mukund.
So we can basically say that from one basis of eigenvectors for a given matrix of u1 u1 to un, we can convert it to another basis of orthonormal eigenvectors of vi to vm. So vn then w1 to wm. And because we can do this by merely changing the basis of the domain and so using change of basis matrix for the domain and for the codomain, we can then generalize this for a whole vector space of size.
Yeah. So these are not orthonormal eigenbases of M. Okay. So M is not a symmetric matrix.
Yes, sir.
M is not a symmetric matrix, but we use the eigenbasis corresponding to M transpose for doing this trick.
Understood, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sorry.
So we use the eigenvectors of M transpose for doing this trick. Yeah, we found the eigenvectors u1 to un, and we chose the basis of the other space, the output space, as what those vectors get transformed to. Yeah, and normalize them.
Got it, sir.
Yeah, and then if we looked at the matrix, yeah, in these pair of bases, yeah, suddenly it looks like a diagonal matrix.
Which makes the calculation a lot easier. Understood,
yeah,
sir.
Which makes calculation a lot easier. Yeah. So typically this is stated slightly differently. Yeah. First of all, a few things. This lambda
sir,
is.
I have a doubt here.
Yes.
Yeah, sir. Why is it necessary that it has to be a diagonal matrix like root lambda 1, root lambda 2? It is possible now that the sum of the elements of the column 1 are root lambda 1.
No, how can it be? So remember, this ui is UI is going to be ith entry will be equal to 1, everything else 0. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And it's what is going to be vi? Vi is basically remember our basis for the output space is this one. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then vi should be one of the standard basis vectors. The ith entry would be equal to 1 and everything else 0. Right?
Okay, sir, I got it.
Yeah. And whatever this matrix is, it should map ui to vi, because that's what the transformation was doing earlier.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this equation has to be true. Yeah. With respect to the new matrix as well. With respect to the new coordinates of ui and vi. And the new coordinates of ui and vi are basically the standard vectors. So then only thing possible is it has to be this matrix.
Okay, sir, got it. Yeah, thank you.
So what this means is, so typically when you write this lambda i's are going to be sorted. So we will assume that lambda 1 is greater than or equal to lambda 2, is greater than or equal to lambda 3, and so on. Okay. Yeah. And then you can write m. Yeah. Summation over I equal to 1 to n lambda I. Yeah. So just a second. Yeah. UI transpose PI. Yeah. Okay. Any matrix M, yeah, can be written as mean in this form. Yeah, so this is called a singular value decomposition. Yeah, the singular value decomposition theorem states that any matrix M, yeah, belonging to R raised to M by N, yeah, can be written as M equal to summation over I equal to 1 to N lambda I Vi Ui transpose, yeah, where so it is not a lambda I, it's actually going to be square root of lambda I here. Yeah, where yeah, so square root of lambda I are positive numbers, yeah, and u1 to un is orthonormal basis, and v1 to vn are also orthonormal vectors. Okay. Yeah. So why is this theorem true? Why is this theorem true? Any idea?
Sir, in this statement, should we not say M prime?
Yeah, that's the beauty of it.
Yes, sir, understood.
So what is M times U1? What is M times U1?
Root over lambda 1 V1.
Yeah, root over lambda 1 V1, which is what we defined it also, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And if your matrix, yeah, acts, they are same, the action is same on the basis vectors, then the matrices has to be the same. You agree?
So what do you mean the matrices have to be the same?
Yeah, the matrices has to be the same.
I mean,
so
sir,
yeah.
Sir, if for the same transformation, if we use a different basis, we'll get a different matrix, right, sir?
Yeah. So I mean, this is strictly speaking, this is written in the transformation level. Okay. I mean, this so Vi and Ui are abstract vectors.
Sir, what does the transpose symbol mean in terms of the abstract vector?
So this just means you need to take the dot product of the incoming vector with this. So Tm, yeah, of a vector V is going to be summation over I equal to 1 to n square root of lambda I Vi into dot product of Ui with V.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So this is a statement in terms of actually abstract vectors. Yeah, I agree that this is not, but you agree with this?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Yeah. So this, these lambda are called the singular values. Yeah. And typically when you write this is sorted in decreasing order. The lambda 1 is most important, then lambda 2 and up to lambda n, yeah, and so on. Yeah. And many a times it will happen that even if the matrix is very large, yeah, this M and N might be very large, but the number of non-zero singular values will be very small. So in fact, only some initial, in fact, up to rank it will be non-zero, then it will be equal to 0. Okay, so the summation is not going all the way up to n, but only up to the rank of the matrix. Okay, so I mean, Yeah. So R is the rank of M. Okay. So yeah, so in here we assume that M is full rank. Yeah. If M is not full rank, we will get a similar theorem, but you will only need R terms in the summation. Okay. Okay, let's just quickly recap what we did today, and then I can take questions. Yeah. So yeah, so we generalized the spectral decomposition theorem for the complex case. Yeah. And essentially we said instead of symmetric matrix, you should consider Hermitian matrices. Yeah. And instead of this being, orthonormal, it has to be unitary. Yeah, that is orthonormal in the complex case. Okay. Yeah, so we could actually generalize the spectral decomposition theorem to the complex case. Then we said, okay, can we say anything about general matrices? Yeah, general matrices need not be symmetric, need not even map the same vector space to itself. Yeah, and we said that with the singular value decomposition theorem, we can write any such matrix, yeah, as the summation of R smaller matrices, where R is the rank of the matrix. Yeah, and it will be this the coefficient in terms of this matrices will be positive numbers. Yeah, this will be positive numbers, and there will be only the rank number of terms there. Okay. Yeah, and these UIs and VIs are orthonormal vectors. Okay, so that's all for today. I can take questions.
Sir, how did you prove that for M prime UI is equal to root lambda I VI?
So so VI was defined like this, no?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So to be frank, this UI is actually UI tilde. So this is this is actually UI tilde. Yeah. So UI
we change
and
the
VI,
basis for everything.
Yeah, you change the basis for everything. So UI and VI were some initial vectors. Yeah. So this M prime is the matrix in the new basis vectors. Yeah. And what is the coordinates of UI in the new basis vector? This is a basis vector in the new basis. So this has to be one of the standard bases. You agree?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So these are the standard bases. So M prime should map the coordinates in the new basis to the coordinates in the new basis. And that's what this equation is saying. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. And how did we get 0 rows for the next?
How this become diagonal like this?
No, sir, that is okay. How did we get 0 rows?
Oh, 0 rows. Okay. So, yeah, why is it 0 rows after that? Yeah. How did we get 0 rows? Yeah. So just a second.
So it's because the other vectors in the other basis vectors are orthonormal, right, sir?
Yeah. So, you agree that this V1 to Vn. So okay.
The column bank and row bank should be equal, right, sir? So
Yeah. So how do we say that? Yeah. So just a second. How did we say that these entries are 0? Any ideas? No. If yeah, how did we say that these entries are 0? Yeah, I will explain that in the next class. Okay, we will just recall this theorem again in the next class. Yeah. Okay.
Sir, maybe because if we take any of these entries non-zero, then there will be some UI which will not be mapped to root lambda I vi, because like there will be some
So basically, as he said,
Yeah.
the row rank will then increase. It won't. The column rank and row rank won't be equal.
Yeah. So I think the previous person who talked said the answer. I mean, remember so this equation has to be true. If this equation has to be true, all these entries has to be 0. In fact, if this any of these entries become non-zero, yeah, any of these entries become non-zero, this equation will no longer be true. One of these equations will no longer be true. Yeah, just think about it. If let's say even one entry is non-zero, yeah, look at the corresponding equation here, that will be affected. Okay. Any other questions?
So when we defined M prime as P, M, Q, I didn't understand the part as in why did you say that pre-multiplying and post-multiplying P and Q are changing the basis of M?
So if you change the basis of the domain, you need to multiply the matrix in the right side, no? Right? If you are changing the basis of the domain, you need to make, earlier the linear transformation was acting as M maps to M, V maps to M times V. V maps to M times V. Yeah. And now the linear transformation will say V tilde maps to M times Q times V tilde. You will change the coordinates of V tilde back to the original basis and then apply M, and then you will get the new output, right? Similarly,
So Q
if
is
you
the change of basis matrix from V to V tilde.
V tilde
and
to
then,
V.
Yes, and then we are applying the matrix transformation M.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So right now we haven't changed the basis of the range. Yeah. If you're also going to change the basis of the range, yeah. So then you will need to do V tilde will map to because this after applying M you will get a basis in the old basis vectors, and then you again change the basis with P. Yeah, and this was a similar logic we used, that P inverse MP also similar logic we used to obtain that. Yeah, just that
Yes.
it's not the same basis now in the domain and the range. It's some other change of basis operations happening.
Yes, sir, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit confusing. I will recall this again in the next lecture, and more importantly, I will show a lot of applications of it. Okay. So the spectral decomposition theorem and singular value is very widely used, whether it is in machine learning, whether it is in data science, whether it is in theory CS. Yeah, all these areas uses both these theorems extremely. Yeah, and we will see many examples of it. Okay. Yeah, that's all for today. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.